Boom! Elijah Ali out of Southern California is your latest Texas Longhorn, bringing Texas to 23 commitments for the class of 2026. Elijah Ali, Jerry, a defensive lineman, 6'4", about 280 pounds out of Southern California. Tell us what you know about Elijah as we watch a little film here from his senior year.
Well, the first thing that comes with Elijah Ali is that he only played 4 games as a senior. He got suspended due to transfer rules in the state of California. So his senior season was cut short. So that's the first thing to know about him. How this happened with Texas is very interesting. The Texas staff was in Southern California to go see juniors in SoCal. And they've been getting some calls. I've been in conversations with a couple of people in SoCal, both Kenny Baker and Johnny Nansen, saying, hey, there's a D lineman. They got suspended due to transfer rules. He's 6'4.5", 285 pounds. He's got a chance to be a really good player. So the Texas staff stopped. Will Muschamp was there as well. They stopped and watched him work out at his high school, and they walked away very impressed. And at that point, we broke the news that, hey, I posted on ontexasfootball mid-January or early January that, hey, this is a possibility. Texas went and watched this kid work out, something we're monitoring. Then we broke the news that he was going to officially visit earlier this week, and now he is committed to Texas on his visit, plans to sign next Wednesday. Next Wednesday is the first Wednesday in February. It's signing day. What does that mean anymore? 15, 20 kids may sign, right, around the country. But Elijah Ali's a kid that has a lot of upside. I think this is a 105 scholarship play, Bobby. I think you could see Texas take an extra D lineman or two in every class that they think, okay, this kid is a ways away from being a player. He's not coming in with expectations to play year one, but he's got a lot of upside. And this kid certainly has the frame and has the feet and has the bend to develop into something, as long as he's patient and understands what this process is.
And the size. That's something you can't teach. 6'4.5", you said 285. I want to say this, 23 commitments now for the 2026 recruiting class. The 4th defensive lineman joining 3 guys already on campus. Jamarian Carlton out of Temple, James Johnson out of Miami, and then Richard Wesley also out of Southern California. He becomes the 4th defensive lineman Elijah Ali does in this class. Jerry, to go along with 19 transfers, that's 42 total newcomers to the roster in a single year. Boy, recruiting and college football has changed and changed quickly. What do we know about that situation as it relates to what it looks like on the defensive line as a whole? You mentioned him as a developmental player. Well, Texas brought in Josiah Sharma last year from California, the big defensive tackle. Myron Charles. Is he going to get into that kind of category? Or those guys a little higher ranked, right?
Those guys are a little higher ranked. I will say this about this kid, though. He is athletic in his stance. He is flat back. He knows how to fire off the football. He is low. He's got really good feet. He just hadn't played enough football, I think, is the comparison there. Now, Josiah Sharma missed majority of his senior year due to the transfer rules in California as well. Myron Charles will play a lot more snaps coming out of high school than Elijah Ali had. But again, I mean, you see on tape what Texas liked. You can imagine what he looked like in a personal workout. But what this also does, Bobby, is Texas really got hit late in the cycle with flips on the defensive line. So they lost one to North Carolina, lost one to Corey Wells to Auburn, Vontae Cleveland to North Carolina. So they didn't sign as many guys as they wanted to from a high school perspective. So this gives another upside guy. Corey Wells was seen as an upside guy. This is a little different frame. I think Corey Wells could have been more of an over-the-ball player. But I think what replaces one of those guys they lost in the original high school class and him coming available. And look, I think he was headed to San Diego State if Texas didn't offer him. Since San Diego State signed a lot of kids like this over the year. A lot of guys have been portaled up in recent years from San Diego State. But I think this is what this did for Texas. It kind of replaced one of those 2 guys they lost.
Yeah, it feels like that's what they've been on the lookout for. When I was bringing up all of those transfers and this late commitment, it feels very much like Texas is attempting to kind of fill out its roster and not be caught with not the lack of depth or the lack of pipeline that maybe a transfer portal can hurt a team like Texas, a blue blood program. You get guys like this and you're able to develop them a little bit longer because they don't necessarily have those immediate playing time expectations. Of course, he has big expectations.
Right.
Every player does. I mean, they want to come in and play football, etc. But perhaps it's not that immediate gratification type situation.
He's not ranked top 50 in the country. Hasn't been told for years how good he is and has those expectations. I think this kid is aware of where he's at as a prospect versus a player. And look, kids can always exceed expectations, but I think he's coming to Texas with the understanding that, look, this is a developmental year in front of you. You just haven't had a lot of snaps as a football player. But Bobby, to your point, I totally agree. I would sign a couple extra defensive linemen every year that are developmental guys, and especially in the SEC. I would not want to get caught without the numbers on the defensive line I want. And I would always want to have 2 or 3 guys in the pipeline that are developmental players. And the reason why, I think Kenny Baker's really good at it. I think he is a really good developer of young players. And I think that the league you're in may kind of push you to a position. And I think defensive line in the SEC is where I'd love to see Texas take a couple extra guys every year that are developmental players to make sure they have that talent stockpile. To your point, if a year from now, a couple of those guys that play a little bit but not playing as much as they want might hit the portal. That's the hard thing. It's harder to keep those guys than ever today.
Yeah, I look at it, and they went and got 2 guys out of the portal that are these interior defensive linemen, and Ian Gerfard and Zion Williams. Zion Williams very much very similar, like a guy that is a developmental prospect right now for Texas, even though he was higher ranked. I mentioned Sharma as a young player that they like a lot, Myron Charles as well, to match with Alex January and Hero Canoe, as well as Ian Gerfard. It's a defensive front that it may not have, Jerry, the first-round talent of a Byron Murphy, Tavondre Sweat, even second-round guys like Alfred Collins, right? But it should be a defensive tackle position that has depth now as well as top-line guys.
Yeah, I totally agree. And look, who knows where Murad Watson could go if he's healthy this season, right? Alex January entering year 3. We'll see where Justice Terry, Jamarian Carlton's body, their frames go over time here. But I like the versatility. I like the depth they've built on the defensive line. You mentioned they have the 3 nose guards now over the ball players in Gerfard, Sharma, and Zion Williams, who's had a redshirt year at LSU, which is always helpful, a year of development in college weight room. And then you look at the guys that'll play that 3-tech spot, and there's a number of talented players on that roster. So, yeah, Bobby, I think they can come at you with numbers, especially when you consider, okay, this is the second spring for a Sharma and a Charles and a Justice Terry and a Lance Jackson who can play inside on third downs. These guys are just about this. They're hitting the age where they should just about start taking off as players a little bit. So I really like the versatility. I like the depth Texas has. And I do like a young kid like Jamarian Carlton, who is in that 275, 280 range now, that you just know is going to be 300 pounds down the line.
That's good stuff. Longhorns continuing to do work. We talked about it this week. They continue to try to mine all kinds of different ways to build the roster, not just through the portal, not just through recruiting elite players in the high school ranks, but every way possible. And it's really kind of impressive what they've been able to do. They have one here almost at the 11th hour, essentially, and Elijah Ali out of St. Pius, the 10th St. Matthias Academy in the Santa Monica area of Southern California. All right, Jerry, that's going to do it for this episode. One last thing before we let you go. Elijah, hook 'em horns, buddy.